Good day, class. For today's discussion, we will be discussing the lesson for this subject, the contemporary world. We will be discussing the components and dynamics of the global economy. And before we will start our discussion this afternoon, I would like to share with you this scenario in which let's have this one. No? About the definition relating to the global economy. So imagine, bumili ka ng smartphone and simple lang paminawon, no? However, what's the process of creating or creating this smartphone? Take note, the processor was made in Taiwan, the battery was made in South Korea, the screen materials were made from Japan. However, the smartphone was assembled in China. And then, after assembling the phone, it was shipped to our country, Philippines. And then, um, you will pay, buying this smartphone using a digital wallet here in our country. Now, how many countries participated in making one phone? Based on what I've mentioned, there are five or more countries, meaning no country produces everything. Countries specialize, then they trade, and that's why we call it a global economy. So let's have first the definition of this global economy. And uh, the global economy, it refers to the worldwide system where countries produce. Aside from produce, exchange, transport, and consume goods and services. Does the global economy have one president, one king, one government? The answer is no. Unlike the Philippines, the global economy has no single leader. Instead, countries cooperate through agreements, organizations, and businesses. Sir, why can't every country produce everything? Bakit kaya? Why can't every country produce everything? Let's think, no? Can the Philippines produce snow? Of course, we can't produce snow. Can Saudi Arabia easily produce rice? That's very difficult for that certain country, Saudi Arabia, because desierto man sila. Can Japan produce large amounts of petroleum? The answer is we can. It's limited. That's why countries trade. Now, as a future seafarers, remember this one that most products travel through ships before reaching to consumers. And without shipping, the global economy slows down. Now, kindly look at this diagram. No, it starts with natural resources down to production, then manufacturing, international trade, transportation, then papunta na sa mga retail stores, then buying those by the consumers, and then there is a financial transactions, and through that, economic growth. Now, what do you notice? If you try to look at the diagram, you can say that everything is connected. No, parang domino god, no? Kung matumba ang isa, the others are affected. Example, no, saging, bananas. Where are bananas grown? Let's assume sa Mindanao. Then what happens? I-harvest. Bago mag-harvest, packaging. Bago mag-packaging sa saging, you are going to transport to Davao Port. And then there will be container ships, right? So i-load ang container ships. Then i-export to Japan. And then, pag abot sa Japan, it was sold in supermarkets. Customers buy, company earns money, workers receive salaries, and then government collects taxes. So everybody benefits. And now, let's discuss our first major component here. We have here international, wait lang, basta ko lang kapay. Yan. We have here international trade. Question, what is trade? Simple as buying and selling. That's correct, no? International trade means buying and selling between countries. Example, yung kanina, the Philippines exports bananas, Japan exports cars, Saudi Arabia exports oil. Why don't countries produce everything themselves? Because specialization is cheaper. Kita, Pilipinas, we export electronics, bananas, pineapples, coconut oil, semiconductors, but kung saan man na itong gina-import, no? The common na itong gina-import, mga oil, no? Petroleum, medicine, cars, machinery, harina. Can we produce harina efficiently here sa itong country? Di ba, maglisod, di ba tao patubog mga harina? That's why we import. Now, how do bananas reach Japan? Yung sa papag-adto, iagi ba na to og aeroplano? Well, siguro kung kaya ihatod, but mostly it was container ships. That's why shipping is the backbone of international trade. Next, let's discuss the international finance, the global market. We have here the multinational corporations. Trade is not enough because businesses also need money. That's where international finance comes in. So what do businesses need before building factories? So kinahanglan, malamang kwarta. We need money. International finance means money moves across countries. Example, a Japanese company builds a factory in Laguna. Who benefits? Of course, the workers. Sino pa? The government, the businesses, the communities. Technology transfer. No? Imagine imong amigo walay puhunan, then nagpahulam kag kwarta, then naka-start siya negosyo, and that's investment. And countries do the same. Now let's discuss workers. Why do many Filipinos work abroad? I know for sure we have similar answer to that. Because better salary and better opportunities, which is correct. The global labor market means workers move to countries where jobs are available. We have OFWs, nurses, engineers, IT professionals, seafarers. I know for sure some of you here are planning to work abroad. No? Your future participants, no, in this global market, your program as a seafarer, more likely, I know for sure some of you here no, are dreaming no, that you will be makasakay internationally. So, of course, you are the future participants in this global labor market. Ano kaya? Of course, higher income. No? We have also skills development, and these remittances, it benefits our country's economic growth. No? And it supports Filipino families. Take note that the Philippines is one of the world's famous suppliers of seafarers, meaning you are one of our country's biggest contributions to the global economy. Next, we have multinational corporations. Sama na sila, no? Kisa yung na nag-iya sa McDo, kisa yung tag-iya sa Apple, sa Toyota, sa Samsung. No? These are called multinational corporations, meaning one company, many countries. Apple designs products in America, it manufactures in Asia, and it sells worldwide. Why do companies expand internationally? Ano kaya? It's because there are more customers. At the same time, the production cost is lower. And then, if the production cost is lower, then the more ang ginansya or the more profit they have. Example, we have our famous fast food no, here in our country, Philippines, the Jollibee. Take note, Jollibee, sa Pilipinas naman na siya. But today, we have Jollibee franchise, no? Na nasa sa US, Canada, Middle East, Europe. And that's becoming multinational. Here, let's proceed to transportations, technology consumers, governments, and organizations. Yan, super lain nila. Here, can globalization exist without transportation? Of course, the answer is no. Transportation is the bridge connecting producers and consumers. And there are different modes of transportation. We have the road, the rail, the air, and the sea. Now, which transports the largest volume of goods? Correct, the ships. No? Around 80 to 90% of global trade moves through maritime transportation. Imagine removing ships. Would Shopee deliveries become slower? Yes. Would imported cars become expensive? That's correct. Would fuel become expensive? Very, very true. That's why shipping is very important. I want all of you to realize something. Sometimes people think seafarer land. No. Without seafarers, we don't have imported rice, no imported oil, no imported gadgets, no imported medicines. The global economy literally depends on people working at sea. And we are so thankful, no, to you as future seafarers. Now let's talk about ICT, or the information and communication technology. Can companies operate globally without internet today? That's almost impossible. Technology allows companies to communicate instantly. Example, we have the AI, the cloud computing, satellite communication, digital banking, and e-commerce. I know for sure, no? Some of you here, or majority of this class, have used GCash. And also, I know for sure, no, kamo nagagamit mo Shopee. Almost everyone. And that's ICT supporting the global economy. Imagine before, a company in Japan wanted to contact its branch in the Philippines. Class, they waited days or weeks not to contact them. Sa una, yes. No? Today, to contact the branch company here in our country, they can conduct Zoom meeting, Google Meet, no? Just seconds only. That's how ICT changed business. Now, next. Wala pa na. Nabalik na. Yes. Next. Who are consumers? Consumers are people who buy goods and services. Of course, no? I know for sure you've eaten your breakfast and lunch before coming to school. You became consumers today because you buy food, you use electricity, you rode a jeepney, and you have, para maka-internet mo, di ba, you need to load your phone every day. Without realizing it, you are participating in the global economy. Imagine ang Jollibee kung wala customer, ang sa mahitabo, malugi. Meaning, no, malugi sila, ma-close. It means that consumers keep businesses alive, no? And just like yung mga common example ko kanina, when you buy milk from New Zealand, chocolate from Switzerland, iPhone from Apple, shoes from Nike, you are supporting the global economy. Simple purchases, and that's global impact. Next, the government. Let's talk about government. Can businesses just do whatever they want? Pwede ba? Magnegosyo sa shabu. Pwede din na. No, no. Government create rules. They collect taxes. They protect workers. They protect consumers. They protect environment. Imagine walay government, companies could sell expired food. No labor laws. No safety standards. No taxes. Magkagubot. No? That's why governments regulate businesses. Now think of the government as the referee in basketball. Can players play without referees? Pwede. Pero nakag-away. That's why in business also, rules, the government create rules to make the game or the business fair. If countries disagree about trade, no, we will now proceed to international organizations who help solve the problem. Yes, the international organizations. So, man yung mga organizations? We have the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the UN. And do these organizations own countries? Na ba yung mga countries ni nga tag-iya? The answer is no. They simply help countries to cooperate. For instance, the World Trade Organization helps countries create fair trade rules. The International Monetary Fund or the IMF, they help countries experiencing financial crisis. And the World Bank provides loans for development projects. And the UN or United Nations promotes peace and international cooperation, meaning these organizations are like mediators. They help countries to work together. Now, as a future marine or seafarers, international rules also affect you because organizations establish standards for crew safety, environmental protection, ship operations, international trade, meaning your profession is directly connected to international cooperation. Now, let's proceed to the global economy. Now, does the global economy stay the same forever? Of course, nothing lasts forever. No? The global economy is always changing. That's why we call it dynamic. Dynamic means always moving, always changing, and always adapting. What happened? No, what will happen if daghan gusto mo palit pero gamay ra ang supply? The law of demand and supply, no? Price goes up. Example, during pandemic, no? Daghan kay gusto mo gamit og alcohol, nya walay supply, di ba? Alcohol, face mask, frontliners needed them. Demand increases, but supply become limited. That's why prices increase. I remember the time people need face masks. Kanang barato gud dapat ang face mask, so piso lang gud unta na siya sa unang isa ka buoy. Na that time due to the increase of demand and the limited supply, of course, prices increase. Ni mahal noon. Yan. Kaya, again ha, if ever, kung daghang gusto mo palit pero gamay ra ang supply, the price goes up. Now, another force of changing the economy is innovation. Kung sa innovation, innovation means creating something new or improving something. Example, before, taxi. Today, we have Grab. Before, DVD rentals. Also kina sa una. But today, we have Netflix. Before, the mode of payment is cash only. But right now, we can have online banking through GCash or any application, on any mobile banking app. No? Innovation changes business. Now, why do companies improve their products? Because of competition, the global competition. Android versus Apple, Shopee versus Lazada, Jollibee versus McDonald's. Competition benefits consumers because companies try to become better. Next, we have also global events. The economy is also affected by global events. Example, the pandemics, wars, natural disasters, economic recessions. During COVID-19, what happened? Flights stopped. Ships experienced delays. Businesses closed. Tourism declined, meaning one event can affect the entire world. In terms of residency, due to the war in the Middle East at saka the pag-close no sa Strait of Hormuz, gusto dito part sa Middle East, business naapektuhan ang business due to delay of the oil or the petroleum. Di mahal ang mga prices. One event can affect the entire world. Now, during COVID-19, before, no, many seafarers were stranded on ships, and crew changes became difficult. The airports, no, closed, and this shows how global events affect maritime transportation. Now, let's connect everything. Can international trade work without transportation? The answer is no. Can transportation work without workers? No. Can businesses operate without consumers? No. Everything is connected. Yan. Again, everything is connected. No example yung chocolate bar. Example ang cocoa. Cocoa beans from Ghana, sugar from Brazil, milk from New Zealand, factory in Malaysia, shipping by container vessel. It was sold in the Philippines and gipalit ninyo. How many countries work together? Daghan. And that's global economy. Our country participates through exports, imports, tourism. We have the BPO, the business process outsourcing, agriculture, manufacturing, maritime industry. Now, which industry do you think contributes the most to the Philippine economy? And to tell you, no, we have OFWs and seafarers. Millions of OFWs and Filipino seafarers send money home. These remittances help families, businesses, education, housing, the national economy, meaning the Philippines is connected to the world through its workers. Now, let's focus on you. Now, why is maritime one of the most important profession in globalization? I know for sure because sabay ginabuhat sa mga maritime, mga shipping, no? To transport, to trade, yan. Remember this, that, again, balik-balik ko na ako, 80 to 90% of global trade travels by sea. Meaning, without ships, global trade would almost stop. Imagine no imported gasoline, no imported gadgets, no imported medicine, no imported rice. Everything becomes scarce. But class, the maritime industry also faces challenges. Like what? Climate change, piracy, fuel prices, port congestion, geopolitical conflicts, automation. And how does war affect shipping? Course, ships may avoid dangerous areas. Routes become longer. Transportation becomes more expensive. No? Imagine what if na road closure, instead of 5 minutes nga maabot dito sa mong destination, maabot na longer like 30 minutes yung biyahe. Same sa dagat, no? Sa ships. If one sea route becomes dangerous, ships use longer routes, and the transportation costs increase. Yan, no? If fuel prices suddenly double, who will eventually pay? Businesses, consumers. Tama, di ba? Because transportation costs affect product prices. And I think I can relate that right now. It's because no, try to look at the mga prices sa gasoline karon. To tell you, sa mga panahon pa sa mga 2010, 11, 12, mga ano na sa mga 2030, 30, 40, ganon, no? Nag-start na siya og mahal ang gas, more likely mga nahimo siyang 40, 40 to 50. That's before COVID. Pagtungtong sa COVID that time, of course naman, the COVID-19 affects everything, including transportation and other businesses, that leads to the price also of the gas. No? And take note, pag mataas ang gas, maapektuhan na tanan. So katong nga time, naabot ng 100, 80, 90, 100, yan, nag-lift ang pandemic, di ba ba? No more likely, niabot lately of 50. But because of the war, karon karon sa Middle East, no? Especially that this year lang nahitabo, so request na po ng gas. Parang kusog mo taas, dugay kay ang rollback. Gamay kay rollback. I-back. No? Again, because of transportation, the transportation cost, it affects product prices. Now, let's summarize everything. What are the major components of global economy? We have international trade, international finance, global labor market, multinational corporations, transportation, ICT, consumers, governments, and international organizations. Now, is the global economy only about money? The answer is no. It's all about people, technology, ideas, transportation, communication, culture, cooperation, and everything is connected. I want you to observe, no? Maybe your bag or shoes may be made in Vietnam, your phone assembled in China, your watch designed in Japan, your notebook made using imported paper. Without realizing it, you are already part of the global economy. Before I will end this class, I want you to leave you with this thought. Many people think seafarers only transport cargo, but after today's lesson, you now know the truth. You transport the products that keep hospitals running. You transport food that feeds millions of people. You transport fuel that powers industries. You transport raw materials used to build homes, bridges, schools, and even the gadgets we use every day. Every voyage you make in future will connect families, businesses, and the entire nations. That means you are not simply sailing across oceans, but keeping you are helping keep rather the world connected. Always remember this. The global economy is like a giant spider web. Every country, every business, every worker, every consumers, and every ship is connected. If one strand moves, the whole web feels the effect. And as future maritime professionals, we're not just preparing for a career, we are preparing to become one of the people who keep the global economy moving. And thank you for listening.